Joining us now, reaction of the New York Times bestselling book, Vengeance, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich is with us. Mr. Speaker, welcome back, and Happy New Year, sir.
Happy New Year. It's great to be with you, and I think it's going to be a great year.
You know, so you're writing, I think it was the most viewed on FoxNews.com, underestimate Trump at your own peril, and then 2018, get ready for the political surprise of 2018. Because I'm watching and listening to everyone else in the media, and they think this is going to be the biggest beatdown for Republicans that we've ever seen.
Well, I keep trying to remind people that all of these folks who are currently analyzing on Sunday morning talk shows were the same people who were wrong in 2015 about whether or not Trump could be a candidate. They were wrong in 2016 about whether or not he could win the nomination. They were wrong in the fall of 2016 about whether or not he could beat Hillary. And they've been wrong for all of 2017. So I started with the idea, I listened to them carefully, take exactly the opposite position, and almost every time I'm doing better than they are. And I think this is going to be a good year. I think the tax cut bill is so central to the future of America, and the philosophy behind it of lower taxes, more take-home pay, more job creation, better business environment is so central to what makes America tick that I think the Democrats who unanimously voted no, think about that, Sean, they unanimously voted for higher taxes, bigger bureaucracy, fewer jobs. So the Democratic Party's offer is, you're going to be out of work, but we'll get you food stamps. I think that's a losing proposition.
So assuming that after a year of investigating Trump-Russia collusion and coming up with unrelated charges for Paul Manafort, General Flynn lying to the FBI, we now find ourselves in a position, and we'll get into this in great detail, where there are issues about collusion. And that would be Hillary funding the dossier paid for with Russian lies, misinformation, propaganda, all to influence an election. Should that be a big issue? Or Comey and Peter Strzok writing an exoneration before an investigation? Or the Uranium One issue? Why would anyone have ever allowed 20% of America's uranium to go to Vladimir Putin, especially knowing about bribery, extortion, kickbacks, and money laundering, a year and a half earlier? Robert Mueller knew about it. So does the Republican Party have an obligation now to go after what we did find as a result of the investigation that the Democrats never really expected to find?
Look, I don't think it's just about Republicans or Democrats. The very core of the United States is a belief in the rule of law, because it's the rule of law which protects the weak from the strong. It's the rule of law which protects the poor from the rich. It's the rule of law which ultimately protects every citizen from their own government. We have an obligation as Americans to want to know whether or not the Justice Department had been corrupted, whether or not senior leaders of the FBI had been corrupted. We have an obligation to find out whether or not they were putting in position of power people who were so totally biased that they couldn't possibly be part of a Department of Justice. They had to be a part of a department that was going to go after and persecute people. And I think that what you've raised is the tip of the iceberg. I think we're going to find out during the course of this year about a great deal of mismanagement and inappropriate behavior in the FBI and the senior level, in the Justice Department.
And the State Department.
And I think we're going to go back and we're going to, and the State Department, and we're going to go back and we're going to learn a great deal more about the corruption inherent in the Clinton Foundation and the corruption inherent in the entire investigation of Hillary. So I don't see how you can walk off. It's not a question about a vendetta against a person. How do you have this scale scandal and just walk off and forget it, particularly when it's just happened last week? We learned that Huma Abedin had an additional set of emails, at least 4 of which were classified,
and passwords
on her husband's laptop.
Yeah, and so passwords for access to more info. Unbelievable. All right, let me ask you about Iran. 4 months ago, when the president was speaking at the United Nations, he predicted there would be the Iranian people would revolt. Now we have Iranian protesters attacking police stations. They stormed an Iranian military base, according to reports, and they are chanting death to the Ayatollah. very different than the Green Movement in 2009. Now we have a president supporting those people that want liberty, freedom, maybe even constitutional government. If you're the president, what do you do now to help those protesters?
Well, let me say, first of all, my newsletter tomorrow is going to be President Trump, Iran, and leading from the front. The opposite of Obama's famous leading from the rear comment. Second, I think we have an obligation to, first of all, maximize the production of our various radio and television programming going into Iran. I think we should be gathering up, and I understand from Ambassador Haley that they're likely to ask for a United Nations Security Council meeting on this issue. I think we should be putting real pressure on the Europeans. They're always pious about human rights. Well, here's a chance to stand up with us. We should be doing what the president has done, to his credit, which is issuing very strong warnings against the Iranian dictatorship, killing its own citizens. And I would hope when they come back next week that the House and Senate will pass very strong resolutions condemning the dictatorship. I mean, here's a clear definitional moment when it's impossible to believe that the dictatorship is a popular government. This is a repressive, brutal dictatorship. It killed over, I think it was over 30,000 people in 1988. I am afraid that they're prepared to come back and kill a lot of people. We should be very aggressively, publicly opposing that.
All right, Mr. Speaker, Happy New Year. Great to see you.